a show where I try to educate real stories. Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. I'm excited to bring a story to you by Michael Strong. He was on the show at the beginning. I started this show in 2011 to educate people about the criminal justice system through people's stories. I wanted to make it interesting and educational, and a little scary too. Michael first told his story in 2012. He's done so well. He's not gone back to prison, and I'm delighted that he has agreed to tell his story again. So Michael, talk to me. Tell us about who you are, how it got started, and what you're doing now.
Oh, wow.
Let's start from the beginning, though.
But it's been 6 years since I've been here. And basically my story, when we revert back to my story, I'm from Vallejo, California. Was raised in a two-parent home. Graduated from high school, was athlete. Just did all the things that a man was supposed to do at that particular time. But a lot of people fail to realize that trouble can come in all angles from a person's life. I left home in 1981 to go to the military. I kind of feel that's when a lot of my trouble started, because I was kind of like, I can say that I was sheltered, dealt with things that, I thought I had it all together, but I really didn't have it all together. But a couple years later, just cut the story kind of short, I ended up being one of them guys that became a statistic. I was looking at a life sentence in prison, went to prison.
No, I don't want to cut it short. I want to go back. Yeah, I know, two-parent home, Vallejo, graduated from high school. What year did you graduate?
I graduated in 1981.
Now, what branch of the military did you go in?
I was in the Army Special Forces.
Okay. Because I know a lot of people in the California area go into the Navy.
Yeah, I lived in a Navy town.
Okay. Yeah, what made you pick the Army?
My dad, ex-Special Forces.
Okay.
So I kind of followed my dad's footsteps in a lot of areas. Kind of, with the family business, we all work the family business. But like I say, I come from a two-parent home. Good mom and dad. Church was like a ritual. We was going to church when they didn't have church. So I mean, it was more or less one of them situations that, when my situation transpired, they say, Mike Strong? Yeah, Mike Strong.
Remind me, how many siblings do you have?
I have 3 brothers and 1 sister.
Okay.
And all of them are successful. They, doing what they're supposed to do out there. God has just been good. I was the...
But in 1981, when you went into the military, how long were you there?
Everything changed.
I know that's what everything changed.
Yeah, I was in the military 3 years. Well, before all this started. Actually, one night changed my whole life.
Changed your whole life.
One life changed my whole life. Got in a situation,
Well, talk to me about that day. I know you remember it. So
oh yeah, I remember.
3 years into the military. So this would be 1984.
Almost 3 years into. No,
was it
83? I'm sorry. 2 years in the military. I'm sorry. 2 years into the military, I was involved. Just like I told you, I can remember yesterday, with my little girl's mother. I was, I think I told you, I was an ex-track star. I was going to North Texas State in an engineering program for the military, and also running track. Well, she was involved with an individual who had committed a robbery down there in Killeen, where he said he had an accomplice. They thought I was the accomplice, so when they came back to the house, I was the one that got in the situation with the officers. Lo and behold, I end up with a capital murder that was dropped down at that particular time, and you did 20 years to come up. I did 20 years just to come up for parole, and...
Back then, so did you plea bargain?
Yes, I did. I plea bargained by
so
judge.
You pled guilty to capital murder?
They lessened it to murder.
To murder, and gave you 40...
And they gave me a life sentence.
They gave you a life sentence. So back then, a life sentence was 30 years?
A life sentence was 20 years. You came
20
up in
years.
20 years.
Came up in 20 years, okay.
And I got 2 sit-offs. And then
But let's talk about that night again. I know it was a long time ago and you were trying to put the past behind you, but
That's not a problem.
I don't remember the story like that the first time you told it.
Right,
So
well,
let's talk about it again. So tell me how you're in the Army. Are you living with the woman? Are you married?
Well, we had a condominium down there in Killeen, but I was, and in the military you have to keep residents at the barracks too. And then when I was up at the school, I actually had 3 residents. Everywhere you was at, you had to have a residence, because up at the school we had a dorm, and so forth. But
Then when you say we, you talking about you and your girlfriend?
No, me.
Okay.
Me and her had a place down in Killeen.
Okay.
But when I say we, I was just me and her down there. But in the other places I had on the base, I had at the barracks. You had to always have, in case that you were
Okay.
called.
But what about at North Texas? Who'd
At
you
North
live
Texas? No, I didn't live with anybody at North Texas.
Were you in the dormitory?
I was in a dormitory. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Yeah. So I was basically by myself, and we were in and out. I was up there a couple days a week. Like I said, I was working with the engineering program and running track up there, and things were pretty good.
Now, how do you do that and be in the military?
That's not a problem. That's not a problem.
I mean, didn't you have a military job?
Yeah, I had a military job, but they sent us up there every day. They considered what we was doing full time, because we go up there 2 days a week, but they also had the satellite issue down there at a school with Central Texas College. Okay. That's where we went and got a lot of our training, in conjunction with what they were doing at North Texas State. So it was pretty good, but to revert back to what you were talking about, the crime. And just like I told you, I was innocent of that crime. I told you that a long time ago.
Oh, no, you told me that before, but I want to go back to that day and find out how you got into a situation, and then how do you plead guilty to a crime you didn't commit?
Well, I didn't plead guilty to it. You remember
I don't remember anything.
Okay, well, let me...
I don't remember anything.
Okay, well,
you have to tell me all anew, like you never told me 6 years ago.
Okay, well, at that time, I told them that I was not going to plead guilty to a crime that I couldn't...
I know, but you haven't told me about the crime.
Okay. Well, the robbery.
Right,
okay.
Tell me what happened.
Okay, the robbery.
And I'm not telling you to tell me what happened because you did it. When a person goes to jail, their lawyer is going to read the police report to them. Right. The judge is going to read the probable cause. So you know why you're there, whether you did it or not. So exactly. I want you to say it, but I don't want you to say it like you did it, because you told me you didn't do it.
Well, let me tell you everything that was on the police report.
Tell me what the police report
read.
said.
Victor Dillard, who was I was supposed to have been his co-partner in this particular crime. He sent them back to my house. He said that I knew everything. He used to work at the pizza restaurant.
Okay.
And his co-partner in this particular incident, he's still walking out there probably today. I've never looked into the situation, don't want to look into the situation. I'm just glad to have gotten out of the situation. But Victor, in my particular, the young lady that I was involved with, my little girl's mother, she had it as though Victor was like her cousin, but Victor was really, they were involved together. So when he sent them back to the apartment, I was the one at the apartment. I was the one that got into the altercation with the police. Remember, I told you that the gun that I kept in my nightstand, that was the gun that Victor used in that particular
Right, I remember you telling me that, but I want you to tell the story from the beginning, like not I told you, but this is what happened. Can you tell it to me like that?
Oh, this is what happened. A crime was committed. Okay. A guy was killed in a restaurant, a pizza restaurant. Don't remember the name of the restaurant. Victor got caught. He got
caught in the middle? I mean,
no,
right?
He didn't get caught in the middle. He got caught, I think it was a day later or something like that. And Victor, he told them where the weapon was and the whole 9 yards. And when they came, he didn't tell them, he just told them that he had accomplice, but he wouldn't tell on anyone.
Right.
But when they came to my house, I was the one, like I said, I had been gone 3 weeks, and I came back like a couple days later when this particular situation happened. When they came to my house, kicked in the door, and when they kicked in the doors, they had on ski masks and everything else. I got a little baby in there, a little girl. Of course, I reacted to the situation, but lo and behold, I'm thrown on the ground, I'm this, that, and the other, I'm taken to jail, I'm questioned about this particular situation. And I told them I don't know anything about any robbery. Well, they wasn't trying to hear that, so.
Were you able to trace back to where you were on the day of the robbery?
Was I able? I told them everything. I just told them, I was up at North Texas State, but they wasn't trying to hear any.
Did you have any proof of that?
I mean, I told them, that where I was, but they wasn't trying to hear this is their big thing that they were talking about. The gun was at my house.
Right.
It was my particular gun.
It was your gun.
And that's all they were trying to see.
Right.
Nothing else mattered
Right.
at that particular time. Even one of the detectives that was down here on an internship program, he came in there and he told me, he said, I'm sorry to tell you, he said, I'm leaving here. I'm not, he said, because you can be in a situation that I really don't want. He just said, you're going to be in a situation that I don't want to be involved in. He said, I've read about you. I've read about the type of family you come from. He said, even though people come from good family, situations transpire all the time. They say they did it. Say they didn't do it. They didn't do it. I said, well, I'm not going to send them on a wild goose chase. I had never been in trouble, So a lot of this was new to me. When the situation finally came, when they talk about the life sentence, the death penalty, and this, that, and other, my mother and them, mom just, oh, baby, we'll take care of you. And not the DA come in, my lawyer, the lawyer that we'd hire come in, well, you're only going to do 20 years. If you do the 20 years, you're...
But did your lawyer go and check your whereabouts and your alibi to show that
well,
you'd been in school?
He say he did a lot of...
Did he show it to you?
I mean...
Or do you remember? I know it was...
No, I don't remember everything, but I just know that he took my family's money and went on about his business.
What was his name?
His name was Larry Sewer. I do remember his name. Yeah, I do remember his name.
Spell his last name.
Suere, something like that.
Okay.
I have my records.
And what county was that in?
He was out of Austin, and I was out of Bell County.
Okay.
We got him from,
Bell County. Wow. Okay, so you're saying I'm innocent. I was not there. So what is your lady friend saying that lives there at the house? What is she saying?
They scared her so bad, they told me they was going to take her kids and take the kids and everything. She was willing to do anything that they told her to do, Okay. But, she actually didn't know he had did a lot of what he did, so it wasn't a lot that, she could really just, help with.
But she knew that she was letting another man in the house.
Well, she knew that.
That could have been taking taking guns.
Exactly.
And things. She knew he probably didn't have a job.
Well, that's what led to the demise right there, and it was a...
How did you find out later, since you were in that situation, that she had a man in the house?
Well, actually, her father helped me out. Me and her father, he seen that my family took care of my child. Because after this situation happened, my baby was like 5 months old, and my mom then raised my daughter, she's almost 35 now. So
like raised her as in took her to California?
Took her to California.
So the mother gave you the baby?
The mother gave the baby to my
Really?
to my parents. We raised her. She's 35 years old now.
Why did she do that?
She couldn't take care of her. She couldn't take care of her. After I left, that situation had transpired. She couldn't take care of that baby.
Okay.
So my mom them adopted, gave her our name, and we had our baby. She's been there. She has twin sons now, doing decent out there. Been raised in California all her life. Her name is Lakita. Yeah.
All right, well, get back to the story, because you're not really telling the story. So let me make sure I got it right. So there was a robbery of a pizza store.
There was a
guy says a guy did it with an accomplice. Two guys did it.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, did they do it with ski masks on or no ski masks, or do you know?
One guy did the robbery.
Okay, one did the robbery.
One did the robbery, and one was supposed to have been out in the car.
Oh, the getaway driver.
Yeah, and the guy that went in there with the ski mask.
Okay.
And
okay. Okay, and so do you know how they caught the guy that did it the next day?
He told his sister, and I think his sister, she was in the military or something to that sort, and she was the one that turned him in.
I see.
She was the one and then she also knew about Tina. And
who was Tina?
Tina was my little girl's mother.
Okay.
She also knew about them, And see, like I said, Tina said that they were cousins, but in actuality, like I said, later down the line, when I was incarcerated, Tina's father, he used to always write me because I used to talk to him on the phone and things of that nature, and he said Victor is no kin to us. He said Victor went to school with Tina. Because
now, where did she go to school?
They went to school. They're from Detroit, Michigan. So basically, that was something that I found out. I had been incarcerated for a minute before that came about.
So make sure I understand this.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
you later found out that Tina's The person that she said was her cousin, Victor, what's his last name?
Victor, yeah, no, Victor was his first name. Dillard was his last
Dillard.
name.
So Victor Dillard was not the cousin. Victor Dillard was her high school friend in Detroit.
In Detroit.
That moved to Killeen, where she was?
No, he was in the military too.
Oh, he was, but stationed in the same place?
Stationed in the same place. I knew him. I talked to him and things of that nature, and that's how I looked at him, as her cousin.
Was she in the military too?
No, her.
Now where is she from? How did she get to Killeen?
Now this gets better. She was married and I didn't even know.
Oh my God.
And came with her cousin. Came there with her husband. And at the time when we involved, the reason why her husband was never, because he was in the stockade, he had gotten some trouble. So I got thrown in there. I'm helping her, and she had 2 other kids, and they were back in Detroit. So it's just, I just got took fast. It was a pay-to-play story.
But the baby's yours?
No, the baby is mine.
You think? Or you
I know. We yeah,
right.
we know.
I don't mean to do the kids.
We went through that. It was a journey, and when I was in there. But this is how I looked at the situation, and a lot of people say, that's just the type of family we are. We have been taking care of the baby all her life. Right. So it really didn't even matter.
It doesn't matter. I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Well,
so I'm
she
just asking.
actually, we had never ever did a DNA. And she took some hair from my mother's hair and took some hair out of my mother's brush and went down and took the follicles down.
Who did that?
Lakita did.
Okay.
Because she got upset one day. I don't think I'm really, yeah, right, exactly. It's Peyton's place now.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and she took it down there, paid for the DNA test, and everything came back positive.
Wow.
And then when she told me about it, I said, baby, you know what? I never even did a DNA, wasn't even gonna go there because you've been with us all your life, so it really didn't even matter. No. Somebody had to take care of the baby.
Right. All right, so back to the robbery.
Okay.
So there was a robbery.
Yes, ma'am.
The Victor Dillard tells his sister, who's in the military, she turns him in, and when she turns him in, he says, "I did it with somebody else." Or
he did, yeah. He said it did. He didn't want to tell.
Who for some reason
he didn't want to. For some reason, he was scared of that person. He was scared of that person, that person was going to do something to him or do something to his family, because they must have been really close, knew something, because he did, and that's when everything ended up coming to my home where I was at. And that's how I got thrown into the picture.
But how do you think the police would get to your home since he didn't live there? The sister.
Because he told them. He told them where to go.
Oh, he told them where to go.
Yeah, he told them where to go. He told them everything. Yes.
Did he say? Hold on, just a minute. Did he say that the gun? Did he say that you were his accomplice?
No, listen. Victor was trying to say anybody that got him out. He just say he had an accomplice.
But did he actually say you were his accomplice?
Yes, he did.
Really?
He did. Yeah,
okay.
He did. Yes, he did.
All right, what's your question?
So, in listening to it, so when he used the gun, he took the gun back and placed it back where he got it from?
Sir. Yes, he did.
Within 24 hours of getting caught?
Whatever. Well, he must have did it. He must have done it that night.
And where were you that night?
I was up in down in Denton.
Denton.
Did that ever come up? How he?
A lot of things came up, sir. But at that particular time, I'm not a prejudiced person, but just a lot of things played part in this. Just to be honest with you, and I'm not going to look at color or anything like that.
But you need to say what you're saying, because you can't have an incomplete thought.
Well, I'm not going to have an incomplete thought. It was a lot of prejudice. I think my color meant something to them. I think there was a lot of prejudice involved, because it was not one Afro-American involved in my case other than me and him.
And it's a lot of onus on Victor for pointing you out as the person, going in your home, sleeping with your wife,
sleeping with
your girlfriend, and taking your gun.
Her girlfriend who had a husband.
Yeah,
had a husband. Taking your gun, using it, placing it back.
Yes, sir.
So I think a lot of onus is on Victor.
Oh, without a doubt, no doubt. Yes, sir.
So let's see. All right, so so we get to all of that, and I'm trying to figure out, you're about what, 21?
Yeah.
It's about 21.
That time, yes.
Why would you plead guilty to a crime you didn't commit?
I never pled guilty.
Okay, I forgot the story.
That was the thing. They tried to get me to plead guilty, and I said, well, I'm not.
Oh, so you did have a trial?
No, I had a trial by judge, where you plead. pled, well, however,
Not guilty.
you know,
You
yeah,
plead not guilty to a judge, and then you plead not guilty to a judge, and then the judge, then the evidence has to come out.
Yeah, well, I pled no. They said I could either. I told them I wasn't going to plead no. I told them I was not going to plead guilty. That was, you know, I'm not going to do it. Then they said, well, you can plead nolo contendere.
Right.
You know, and that was my plea off in there.
So that's
not
no
saying
contest.
you did it and not saying you did do it.
Yeah, but it's accepting responsibility for it.
Well, I didn't know that.
You're
at that
not
time.
contesting the charges against you, so that means I'm accepting responsibility, and I'm not going to contest the charges against you.
Well, at that particular time, I did not know anything about the law.
All right, so part of our educational piece tonight is nolo contendere, means I'm not contesting it, and that means that you're guilty. You're just not saying the word guilty, but you're accepting responsibility, and you're not contesting that he didn't contest the fact that they said he was guilty of, the police said he was guilty of capital murder where somebody got killed.
Right, exactly.
And I lose my rights to appeal. Am I right?
Yeah.
No, you don't have
Well,
to lose
to a sense,
you don't
to
lose
a
your right. Back then, you didn't lose your right to appeal by pleading no contest. You could still plead. I mean, you could still contest it, but you can only contest what you preserve. So if you have a hearing on punishment and you feel like the punishment is unconstitutional or the process is unconstitutional, you can still appeal it.
It's like the Michael Morton Act now. If you come up with some new type of evidence,
Right,
that would help you. Like I said, the way that my attorney explained it to me at that particular time, he said, you're not saying that you did it and you're not saying you didn't do it.
And what did that mean?
Well, to me,
I mean, but why wouldn't you say that you didn't do it?
well, I was, you know, I didn't do it, so, you know, that's what I was telling him. But he said if I pled guilty, then I was going to be in a situation, and I was not going to plead guilty. And if I pled not guilty, then I was going to trial with it. Then when I go to trial, everything, you know, I'm back up on the capital murder. So in order to do the plea bargain, that's what a plea bargain went at, nolo contendere, that was up under the plea bargain.
So you use the death penalty to scare you?
Oh, most definitely. And it did. It scared my whole family. Like I said,
So your family basically told you to plead no contest, accept responsibility for murder, a lesser included charge of murder. And with capital murder, it has to be a murder plus one of the first degree felonies like aggravated robbery, which means you rob somebody with a deadly weapon, aggravated sexual assault. It's so many different categories.
Right.
You kill two people.
Right.
It's a lot of different scenarios. So in this scenario, it would be aggravated robbery plus killing someone.
Right.
That's what made it aggravated. That's what makes it a capital murder. And in '81, the death penalty was alive and kicking.
Oh, it was alive for real. And it scared, I mean, they had it to where they had my mom and dad on the phone, and we were all sitting in there, and, you know, my mother crying. I never heard my dad cry. He crying, and, you know, brothers and sisters. And if you've seen the type of family I come from, you know, my mother telling me, and then my mother telling me something, my lawyer telling me, well, you know, you just do 20 years, your dad, my dad passed away while I was there. And, you know, everything that he said that it was gonna go down, it didn't. None of that. I did more than 20 years, I did 25 years. And actually, let me give you a scenario real quick. When I came up for parole on this, I utilized some of the paperwork that Tina's father gave me. I gave that to the parole board. Do you know that was one of the scenarios that helped me come home?
And what was that?
And that was him, you know, because see, this is the thing. Victor, when her father sent me the paperwork, Victor.
What kind of paperwork was it?
He had, Tina had sent him some paperwork, and she had passed away. And her father, Tina passed. She got hit by a car in 1989 while I was down there. And he told me, he said, well, I never had this paperwork. He told me this paperwork might happen. But what this particular paperwork said, and this was not in my paperwork, when he told him that night, he pointed out too many things that he said that I said that were too detailed. He knew who the manager was. He knew who the cashier was. He knew who the cook was. But he said that his accomplice said all this. Well, how am I going to know who the manager is, who the cook is, unless I went in there, unless I knew these people? They didn't have cook on there. They didn't have manager on there. That's what helped me. And Miss Pamela Freeman, I'll never forget her name. She was one of the ones at that time. And I showed that to her.
Pamela Freeman was on the
she was one of the commissioners at that particular time. And her father told me, he said, Michael, when you go up for parole, you need to show this. And that helped. Besides me going to school, for 14 years in there, getting 2 doctoral degrees, a master's degrees, associate, and being a model, a model inmate. I was a leader in there. When I went to parole, I had the head chaplain one of the head chaplains from Austin. I had the major who Miss Freeman used to work for. I had a good team to walk in there and talk about me and my accomplishments. So I had a lot, and these same people out here support me today. They were my sponsors when I came out. So I've kept my word. It's been a journey. I've been home nearly 8 years now. It hasn't always been easy, watching, come home, when I left, my mother was, 50. When I come home, she's old, and it was hard. I lost my father while I was in there. My mother is getting ready to turn 84 because I've been home. I try not to get emotional about it, but it was emotional,
25 years is a long
Yeah, 25 is a long.
And you're 21 years old.
Yeah.
That's a lot of your life.
But the thing about this, and this is honest, I told myself that when I got my time and I got in there and I seen this, how things go, I said, well, I'm gonna do the time. I'm not gonna let the time do me. That's just how it is. And I got in school. I'm a music director, so I didn't just start going to church while I was in the penitentiary. I've been in church, all my life. So church was one of my that's what I clung to, and of course, activities, my athletes and things like that. And when I did so much during the day, so much positive stuff, going to school, working, and this, that, and that. When I hit the bed at night, I went to sleep, woke up, do my routine, and that's what I did.
For 25
years. So it was just a routine to me. It was like when I was up, my mind was just going 100 miles an hour. When I was asleep, that's just what I was doing.
So when you got there, that was before all of the crack cocaine. So how did you?
No, there was crack cocaine there.
It was 81 was crack?
Oh, yeah.
83?
Oh, yeah,
83?
yeah.
So that's at the height of the crack cocaine.
Oh, that's at the height of the crack.
So how did you deal with that? How would you deal with all the crackheads that got sent to prison with you, the fights, the gangs? How did you deal with all of that?
They're just like they're humans, just like everybody else. I noticed when I in my degree plan, psychology is what I do. And I think I'm pretty good at, because even before I got my degree, I used to talk to a lot of these brothers, because I've seen some guys that it was just, they still had them addictive type attitudes in there. Whether they took it to coffee or pills or aspirin or whatever it may be, it was still an addictive type attitude. And it was bad now, don't get me wrong. It was bad. It was something I had never seen, because I didn't come up in that type of environment. I've seen a lot of people drink. Of course they made, they had their own little breweries in there. Everything you had out here, they had in there, cell phones, they had the whole 9 yards in there.
They had everything but women.
They had them too. They might have been makeshift, but they had them. They had homosexual, but you see it every day you hear it every day.
I thought you were going to say like the Lady Guards or something.
No,
that's why I was just saying.
That's part of it. I say they had everything they wanted. If you had enough talk, you got what you wanted in there. And you've seen women get walked off the unit every day.
Women that work there?
Women that work every day.
Why?
Every day. Why? Because they got caught. I worked in the hospital, and that's where a lot of time I would see the little turn gate that they went out, they come in, I was like, oh, another one got walked off.
How'd you stay out of that? Because as a young man at that age.
Well, you want to know something? I'm going to tell you something. It wasn't easy. I'm just going to say it was not easy. Of course, a lot of women, used to talk to me in there, but this was my one thing in there. I had jobs that were honor jobs. I worked around all the women, the doctors, all that, the administrators. They come in there. They come in through a different part of the penitentiary, professional. And I put it like this. I said, I wasn't going to be one of them ones that, number one, I can't afford to take care of her. So I wasn't going to be one of the ones to disrespect. Because, I mean, you got to understand, when you sitting talking to a woman every day in there, you get kind of close. Because I got close to a lot of women in there, you know. I mean, a lot of women in there, you know. But it was just, they had so much respect for me of where I worked at. And, you know, I mean, we talked about things, no, that we was not supposed to talk about, but that was just part of the job, you know. I mean, administrator was a woman. We talked about things that we weren't supposed to talk about, but
Like
the one
what?
thing, I mean, they talk about their boyfriends.
Their personal life.
Their personal life, you know. But see, I hadn't got my degree in psychology, so they used to call me Doc. You know, go talk to Doc. You know, he got the answers, you know. And they'd come to me, and a lot of times I did have the answer.
You had a lot to lose in that position.
I had a lot to lose in that, and okay, that's where we're gonna go to. That was the main thing. Why? I was trying to go home, number one. Why build up all this honor, you know, these points and stuff like that,
Trust,
and get it knocked down over a woman?
And she goes back home.
She goes back home.
And you go to
she
close custody.
I go to close custody, administrative segregation,
and never get that opportunity
and
again.
never get
But you know, usually when you're that young, you don't make good decisions, especially since you're already in prison. And so people perceive that to be that you've already made a bad decision.
Well, you know, perception, and they say presumptions and assumptions is the biggest thing that you ever deal with in life.
It's just unfortunate that, you know, basically, do you feel that you got in trouble behind a woman? I mean, is that one of the ways you looked at it? Or how did you look at it?
No doubt. I feel like, you know, okay, let me tell you how I met her. They came back to the barracks one day, and they told me, my little girl's mother looked just like Vanessa Williams.
Okay.
And they came back to the barracks.
Now they is her and her girlfriend?
No, some guys that was in the military with me.
Okay.
Because they all, you know, I had the car, I had the nice car, and women used to like me and stuff like that. They said, man, because she wouldn't talk to nobody. She worked at this, she was a manager of a bunch of golden chicken places. She was like 4 or 5 of them. And they came back and said, hey man, Mike, you know about this girl that worked at the golden chicken? I said, who? He said, she looked just like Vanessa Williams, you know, your ex-girl. I said, I think I seen her in there one time. Yeah, I've been in there a couple times. He said, man, she don't talk to nobody. They said, man, go get her. So all these dudes are older. They telling me, go get her. I said, well, I'm gonna check her out one day. So one night I'm going to the club. I stopped by there. She just happened to be sitting out. One thing led to another. And it wasn't that hard. It was, you know, it may have been hard for them, but it wasn't hard for me. But you want to know something? That cost me big time.
That cost you 25 years.
That cost me 25 years of my life. You know.
Wow.
You know, I tell people all the time, and this is what I tell guys when I've talked to them and I be counseling them. I said, you go by a car every day and you see this particular car is beautiful. The owner, he's shining it up. But you fail to realize why that car has not moved. The reason why the car ain't moved, because it didn't have no engine. And the scenario is all that. You may have a beautiful woman, but if she didn't have anything up here or had an alternative motive, then it wasn't going anywhere. And that's my scenario. I had a good look. She was a good mother, but she was a very promiscuous lady. And she was too fast for me. I mean, a lot of guys, you know.
Was too fast.
She was too fast.
But you said you was Mr. Smooth when
Yeah,
you ran up on her. They
but
said
you want to know
Mr.
something?
Smooth.
But there's always somebody smoother.
And that's not what you're looking for.
No.
You think you just go get a girlfriend.
No.
You know you're getting a married girlfriend
Yeah, she
that's
was
living with you,
seasoned. Yeah.
married, got 2
Right.
kids already, got a job, and then got other boyfriends.
Ain't got another boyfriend.
Now, did you move into her house when y'all were living
No, that
in the
was
house?
actually my place.
Apartment.
Well, we got it together, you know. She helped, I helped. But it was a series, and it was all about beauty. You know, I got this little prize. I didn't have no prize. I had just a piece of wood. That's all.
Mr. Strong, you have an amazing story. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
It's taking us back.
Yes, sir.
When you was going through this phase of when they were presenting all these bad options, was anybody advocating for you to just stand up for the truth?
Number one, I was down here by myself, sir. I was down here by myself. I didn't know anybody. Everybody, I had guys playing the good cop, bad cop role on me. I had, you know, they'll play that good cop. When they driving me one day somewhere and one sitting on his side, I'm in the back, and they playing the good guy, bad cop role on me. You know, man, just, you know, it's going to do this, you need to do this.
Let me ask you about Victor. What happened to him?
You know what? Victor went to prison. You know, this is how, and she'll tell you, whoever gives up,
They
or
get
think,
less time.
they get less time. Victor got less time than me.
So
I don't.
he alleged that you were the shooter?
He alleged that I was a shooter. Yes,
Was there anybody that could identify you? Who was supposed to have the mask, you or him?
he had the mask.
Because you were supposed to be the getaway driver.
Exactly. I was supposed to be in the
So why
getaway
were they
driver.
giving you capital murder and not him?
Because he told them that I did it.
Did anybody get a license plate or the car? Was it supposed to be your car?
It was supposed to be in, like, I think when he did this, it was like 2 o'clock, and no, it was his car. You know, I read the report, you know, and it was supposed to be in his vehicle, and I remember it was a, I remember what type of vehicle. I know it was a Chevrolet, because I remember that report just like it was yesterday, because I read it over and over and over again. I just know that, you know, he sent me back when I was in the penitentiary, he sent a message to me from another unit. We was in there at the same time, and the guy came back. He said, "You know a guy named Victor Dillard?" I said, "Yeah, I know a guy named Victor Dillard." And this is when I first went to the penitentiary. He said, he started talking about me. He said, "Man, tell Michael Strong I'm sorry." That's what he told him. But he would never come forward.
And tell the truth.
And never come
Do you know
forward
how
and
much time he got?
They said he got 20. They say he got 45, and you know, I
just never knew.
I just never knew. And at that particular time, I wasn't that poised with the law. At that particular time, I was just basically had a lot going on. When my dad got sick, and my mom had a massive heart attack. You know, I didn't want to take my family through any of this anymore. And you know, when you know the type of family that I come from, you know, I mean, good family. You know, never, you know, our house was like the house that everybody laughed at. You know, my dad started all the kids in the neighborhood, take them out to the ranch riding horses. We know a lot of big name people, the guys that's up there, big stars now. They were from our neighborhood. E40, you know, Can Function, Danny Thomas, these guys like that. You know, them guys were from our neighborhood. My dad mentored these boys. You know, we got a lot of them that are police, bounty hunters, a lot of law enforcement. And these were kids that were from my neighborhood.
And your brothers and sister were very successful.
All
Tell me
of
what
them
they
very
ended up doing.
My sister, she's actually over H&R for 120 charter schools.
Here or there?
Here in California. My brother my oldest brother, he runs the ranch and runs my mother's restaurant up in Oroville, California. My brother up under me, he's a seasoned musician, then played with everybody. And my youngest brother, he's still trying to find himself at 50. He's a rapper, you know.
A 50-year-old rapper.
A 50-year-old rapper, but he's, you know, he that's what he want to do, you know. That's his thing. He's, you know, hadn't been in no trouble. He does a lot of producing, but I told him, you make the Guinness Book World Record for he's the oldest rapper or something. But that's what it is, yeah. The kids are successful. All my kids are successful.
How many children do you have?
I have 3 kids, and then I have, I have 6 altogether, you know, because my stepkids, they mind, you know. They say you take care of them so long, they look like, you know.
So the 35-year-old is your oldest?
The 35-year, the oldest is my stepdaughter. She's 41. And then next we have Lakita, who is 35. Then we have Danielle, who's 34. We have Sharice, and then we have Chris. Did I get all of them? You know, no, I forgot Mike Jr., who is my son. He's 32, and he'll be down here. So, you know, he's an actor. You know, he's with Vivica Fox.
So he lives in California?
He's in California, yeah.
So when did you have time to have him?
When I had time? Oh.
I mean, was it before you went to prison?
Yeah.
So he's older than the one that's 5 months old?
Yeah,
I'm just trying to figure out. I'm trying to get it.
Through the conjugal visits.
Oh, they had conjugal visits?
Yeah.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Do they still do that?
No.
Was this in California?
No.
You know, I did. When this is how my time went. They had when I got my time, they got an act called the Interstate Compact Act, and at that particular time, that you could trade over with a inmate from another state, and I did that for 3 years up there. Before they had all the contracts were in 5-year increments, okay, And you could do that. You could trade with and I traded with a guy from Dale Valley down here, and but when the contract with California.
So where'd you go to prison in California?
I was at what's that unit?
I should have did that.
What city?
San Luis Obispo.
Okay, but you're not from out of state.
I know he was here in Texas. You got to get a chance to go to
He's
California.
from California.
But I'm from California,
Oh,
but I
okay.
had
That's
to
why
trade
you had to
out.
trade from
It's
where
called
you're
the
from.
Interstate Compact
So what
Act.
they're trying to do is get you closer to your family.
Closer
He
to
has
your
no one
family.
here, so he
I,
had no connection.
I did that for 3 years up there, and then when the contract stopped, then I had to come down here because what it was is he went home. I couldn't get another exchange
Another
with
replacement.
another, so I had to come back down. I had
Do
to
they
come
still
down
do
here.
that?
Yeah, I guess.
hear of that.
No, they don't do it like they do because Texas their laws are much stricter. So I mean, but back then, you could get it done. And I had another attorney up there, a guy named Melvin Belli, that my father had hired. He the one actually got that done. So I did. That's where a lot of things transpired in my life. Good stuff, But when I didn't get all my schooling until I came down here, and I think down here had a better schooling program than up in California because I used some of my military, the Hazelwood program. I used that, and then I had a scholarship that the monies were still there. They ended up letting me use the money because I had, because I didn't utilize it. So I did good in school. I did. I would say $300,000 worth of education. I didn't pay not one quarter. Not one quarter. And God is good. Them same degrees that I'm using, that I garnered in there, I'm using them out here.
That's awesome.
So tell me about the programs that you.
Okay.
Well, let's walk us through. So you did 25 years. You haven't talked about how rough it was, really, because you made 25 years seem like it happened in an hour. But I know it was a rough road.
Well, you want to know something, Viv? It's what you made it. You could make it rough. I wasn't getting in trouble. I wasn't,
But the way a lot of people tell us that sometimes it's hard to avoid trouble. So how'd you avoid it?
It's not. I mean, listen, this is the thing about me. In there, I was 208. I had a 450 bench, a 600 squat, and I was pulling 685 off the floor. I'm ex-special forces, and I'm a black belt in martial arts. I really am, but I didn't tell everybody that. That wasn't something that, but guys would see me in the gym, and and just like I told a guy one day, he was trying to impress someone. I said, listen, son, and that's just what I call him, son, because he was a younger man. I said, anyone can look good in a corner, shadow boxing, doing all that. I said, but if you put an opponent in front of you, everything changes because you're not punching at shadows, you're punching at an individual. And the individual is not punching at shadows, he's punching at you. And a lot of times they're going to hit their target. So I said, you trying to impress your friends, want to come over here and do this, and I had one major fight in all that time.
Really? What do you remember when it was?
Oh, most definitely. I remember. I don't remember the year, but I remember the fight.
Okay.
A guy walked up to me. He was out of Mississippi.
Do you remember what unit you were in?
This was on the Cofield unit, and I was at that time I was a clerk in the laundry at that particular time, and he had been, I don't know, we used to lift weights together, me and him, and he really didn't like me, and I really didn't care for him because he would be he was somewhat of a bully, like he about like 270, and, he worked with me, and I was one of the first black clerks that they ever had on this unit, because this is a rural area down there, and at that time they just, you just wasn't up in that office with other people. He didn't like that. And he used to always, be making these little remarks and stuff like that. So one day he made a remark and, I said, I'm gonna tell you, I say, man, words don't hurt me, bro. I say, they really don't. I say, what you're trying to do right now, you trying to impress your Aryan hood brothers over there? I said, and I should not have done this, but I did do it. And I'll say that. I told him, I say, if you want to impress him, I say, get within my space. That's all you got to do. I say, because what you doing over there, I say, don't impress me. But if you get in my space, then it's good. Well, he got in my space, and it was on. It didn't go like he wanted to go. Matter of fact, it was so fast and quick, he couldn't even understand it, And we became good friends after that.
His Aryan brothers did come in to help him?
Oh, what they was gonna come? I mean, no, they didn't come and help because it was a lot of, it was a lot of everything around. It was, one-on-one.
Black, white, yeah.
I mean, that's just how it was, and that's how a lot of time when guys, let them. That's one thing in there. Unless you're getting initiated by something, it's pretty much, man, let them do their thing. If a guy is in a gang and he's doing I mean, that's I've seen him initiate him when they had to fight 3 guys. If that's something he wanted to do, let him go do it. Because you're not going to change his mindset. Because you fail to realize that most of the guys, and this is the thing about the penitentiary, most guys that get in gangs get into it for protection. Also, a lot of guys that you see going into the church, they come to the church because they feel that that'll be a protective measure for them.
And it works.
And it does work. You already know it works. But you want to know something? And I've heard guys think, oh, yeah, you just go there. I said, nah, I'm going to tell you one thing. I said, don't get the church and the pulpit mixed up, brother. I say, please do not I said, don't get the church, the pulpit, and that hallway mixed up. I say, because when I get out in that hallway, I say, that's a battleground. That's just how it was, And I walked by myself. I had friends. I had brothers, Christian brothers, and I deal with everybody. I didn't have some Aryan brotherhoods, some Klansmen. I've had them all in secret come to me, man, man, you really different, man. You're not like a lot of these cats down here. I say, well, I appreciate it. Then I've had guys tell me that were Klansmen, and when they say, I'm doing this because this is how I was raised. My grandfather was one, my father was one, my uncle was one. So I had to become one, or something may have happened to me and my family. So a lot of times when you've seen guys that were in certain things, they weren't in it because they wanted to be in it. Some of them were in it before they even came to the penitentiary.
And you were military. You were a veteran.
I was a veteran for real.
Your character didn't change.
No,
discipline
never
wasn't lost because you got sent to prison.
No, sir. I feel like, and that's what I had. It's funny. I got a job one time when I first. I worked 3 places, but the job that I worked the most, I worked in hospitals. But they called me on the speakerphone one time and said, "Inmate Strong, could you come?" So I come there, and the guy, he called me. He said, Strong, could you come in here and sit down? He said, close the door. And I'm like, I just got here, So he said, I want to give you a job promotion. I was like, I'm saying to myself, I just got here, And he said, I want to give you a job promotion. I said, well, okay, well, thank you. He said, do you know why I want to give you the job promotion? I said, no, sir. This is what he told me. I'm not going to say the word. I'm just going to say the letter. He said, because you don't act like an N. I said, okay. But he said it like, you don't act like a bald-headed man. We both bald-headed. Like, okay, we good with that.
He was black?
No, he's white.
Okay.
And he said, you don't act like an N. I was like, I kind of sat like that. So I took it as though it was a compliment, to him, but it was offensive, but I played it off. But I told him, I said, sir, no disrespect, because he was an ex-military man. Yeah, but this is what I asked him. I said, well, I'm just kind of curious. He said, what you curious about, Strong? Like, what you talking about, Willis? I said, what do an N act like? He said, well, why you act like that? I said, let me show you something. I said, we look down on the window. I said, you see all those guys? I said, we have 3 different ethnic backgrounds. I said, all of them doing the same. I asked him, I said, what are they doing? He said, they're acting like clowns, like monkeys. I say, my point exactly. You saying I don't, he said, but that's what I'm saying. You don't act like them. He said, I look out this window all the time. You sitting over there if you're not doing your work, you sitting over there with a book in your hand and you're not messing with nobody. He said, that's why I want you to go over into the officers, they call ODR, officers dining hall, officers dining room rather. He said, I want you to work over there. They sent me to cooking school. I also became a chef in there, So it was things, my character did go along. I was always, yes, sir, no, sir, not, yeah, man, no, nah, man. It was just always that what was instilled in me at home went in there, and that never changed.
Wow, that's a lot. So tell me, so you got 2 set-offs, and so you had Tina's daddy had given you some paperwork about Victor, But didn't you have those all 3 times you went?
That's what I was saying. I never, this paperwork, I had never ever seen this paperwork.
To the 3rd time?
This is what he, no, I didn't have it the first time I went there. I was like, because he knew I was coming up for parole. And he sent it to the unit. When I got to the Darrington unit down here, he had sent it. And he told me, he said, Michael, he said, let me give you some, he had found the paperwork. He said, let me give you, he said, I'm going to send you some paperwork, because I was talking to him on the phone. That's when they had put the phone system off in the prison system then. I'll let you know I was not on the cell phone. I talked to him. Excuse me. He sent the paperwork. He said, I think you need to pilfer through this paperwork. He said, I don't know what's in there. He said, but it may be something that help you. So I took that paperwork with all the other paperwork that I had. And remind you, I didn't have no lot of paperwork, because I went to court. My dad spent $70,000, and I went to court 3 times.
Oh my God.
And that's on everything I love. I went to court 3 times. So it was just like a car wash. I got my wash, rinse, and my dry. You know.
Was a guy visiting you in jail?
Was who visiting me?
Your lawyer?
Nah, he didn't come visit me in jail.
Did he hire an investigator? Did you know of that came to talk to you, ask you questions?
None of that. He took my daddy's money. If he hired one, I didn't know about it. If he hired him, he must have
He didn't come talk to you?
Yeah,
no. He came there. I seen him.
I mean, the investigator didn't come talk to you.
No investigator ever came to me. He claims that whatever he did, well, I went to, because he, Victor went before I did. So whatever it is, he said he went down to talk to Victor, and, he just gave me a little, it was just basically, like I say, I didn't know anything about the law at that time. Nothing, no more than they put them handcuffs on me. And of course we had some judges and some DAs and stuff in my uncles and stuff in New York, but I mean, I didn't know. And my family didn't know.
You get a lot of visitors during this time?
No, not for, like I said, I didn't have anybody. It was like, man, son, I don't think one time I didn't have, when my dad was real low sick, man, I didn't have a visit for about 9 years.
Oh my God.
9 years. So visits wasn't really big to me. I mean, I was always well taken care of. And I was, I was doing and I told my brother, I said, man, and I used to always tell him, don't worry, because when my mom did come down there, it was
so hard.
It was too hard on her, man.
What year did your father pass?
My dad passed in '98.
Talk to me. We don't have much time, so talk to me about. We have 5 minutes actually. So talk to me about all the great things you've done in the last 8 years that you've been out of prison.
Well, since I've been home, started a few businesses. Right now, currently, I'm working with the Crime Victims Assistance Program, where I have a slew of counselors. And we go out when someone gets killed in the course of a crime. A lot of times, some of the counselors, people fail to realize that when someone gets killed, a lot of times you have the family be out there at bay, on the scene. So we've been put in situations where we've had to be really nearly out there, helping the family, keep them in place and stuff like that. But the main thing with my business partner, Miss Doris Jenkins, she's a funeral coordinator because they pay so much for the funerals. They give them $6,500 for the funerals, and it helps them to the crime victim program. They pay for the funeral. We help them with the funeral. Do the after. Our biggest thing is the aftercare. But see, a lot of people fail to realize that when individuals get killed during the course of a crime, it's in a rural area, number one. And when that family comes to the table, they come to the table with nothing. They don't know how they're going to pay for a funeral. They don't know. They're just stuck. They just don't know. And like I say, a lot of people don't know about the program. So that's where they refer the cases to us. Refer the cases to us. They pay for everything. We do what we have to do, for the families to get them. And my team does the aftercare program. And I also have some care homes. I own them. I don't really run them, but I own them. And God has been good in that particular area. We have the Success After Incarceration, where I help guys when they've come out, to get themselves back, mentored. And I'm a certified prison chaplain. I go into the system to help in that area to talk to guys and try to get them back on the track. But my main thing is, when guys come out, we just, we just do what we need to do to get them back. I tell them my story. I tell them where they need to go to listen to my story. And I tell them when they say, well, I can't do this and I can't, yes, you can. If you said can't, you done already defeated yourself because you won't move forward. So that's how I kind of give it to these guys and these women that come out here in despondent situations. I just give it to them straight, let them know what it's going to be. Because I tell people all the time, and I believe this within my heart, if you cannot get a job in Houston, you just don't have no hustle, bottom line. Because they can say what they want, but I also have told them when I go, I prepare them to come out here when they get on the other side. And I tell guys in the penitentiary, I say, let me tell you something. If you don't plan, you're going to fail. And if you failed, you didn't plan. It's just that simple. I tell these guys, I said, there's never, I go speak at a lot of graduations. I've spoke at many graduations, many, events where guys are coming out, guys were in there, guys getting ready to come out, re-entry.
Now, what kind of graduations? So these are the...
These are all kind of different graduate, they might have been graduating from, some therapeutic program. I work with Chaplain Donald Lacey. He's retired now, but I still go in there and work with him in Sawyer and just a lot of different people that I work with. And when I go in there and give my speech to them, it's pretty much, it's a copycat. It may be a little bit more emotional. I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know how the crowd is going to react to what I say, because I tell them, I tell them about, about etiquette, about dressing, about how to carry yourself, about they have free people they have people that will remove tattoos for you now. I said, what you have on your body, okay, if you want to keep that on there, that's your business. But that stuff on your face, nobody's going to hire. And this is the thing, me going to college in there, you had some smart individuals that come in there was all tatted up on their face and there, but they were super smart behind them tattoos. And I used to tell them all the time, I come back and some of them were still there. I said, man, when you come in, here's the, get with my organization and stuff. Because I knew a guy that he put it on the news and stuff. That's what he helps guys, his second chance program, to remove that tattoo.
We got 30 seconds. So
okay, well,
why don't you try to, just try to sum it up really quickly?
Well, I just, God is good. I'm not trying to make this spiritual. And I can tell people you can get, the number, they have the number on there. You can get a hold of me at my number. If you have anyone that's been in a despondent situation, send them to us. And so we can talk to these guys because they need to talk to us. These women, please come to us. The number is there on the screen. We're out here for you. We're not the ones that have not been there, don't have the experience. We've been there, we've done that. I have a good team out here, and we will be behind you. And I thank everybody for the time, the effort. But please, if you don't come to us and let us feed you, you'll just be out there hungry. So
I appreciate it. So I really appreciate tonight that Michael Strong made the sacrifice to come and tell his story to you. It's one of inspiration, Michael. I'm proud of you. I was proud of you when I met you in 2012. I'm proud that it's 2018 and you are still moving forward, being positive, being supportive of me and everybody that you come in contact with. Ma'am. And I just appreciate the fact that I can track someone for that long and consider you a friend. So I appreciate that. And thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. If you need that inspiration, you know where to find Michael Strong and you know where to find me. Good night. Thank you for tuning in again tonight. We have something